Greetings gamers, ex-gamers and friends and family of gamers. Well, we've reached day 19 without giving in to temptation, although frankly I only felt a little bit of temptation, and that was on day 16, which I told you about on day 17. Remember, I can't report what happens today in today's video because today hasn't finished yet, so whenever I report any withdrawal symptoms or lack thereof, bear in mind I'm talking about what happened yesterday. Now yesterday I had a phone call from a friend who said he misses me in World of Warcraft. He noticed my absence from the game and phoned me to see if I was alright. I think that's really considerate. It does underscore that video games aren't just the player versus the game, but video games are a social activity, and the decision to quit affects other people, not just the person who chooses to quit. I told him that I was doing fine and that I will be back gaming on the 1st of February. But there you go. It takes about a couple of weeks before friends start noticing your absence and start calling you, although I suppose it depends on how often you spend with them. Now in today's video I want to talk about the relationship between the method of administration and the degree to which substance is addictive, and compare this to the way people interact with video games. Now in substance abuse, the prevailing belief is that the faster the substance gets to your brain, the more quickly the user or abuser can become addicted. That is to say, in general, substances that are inhaled or injected tend to be more addictive than substances that are taken orally or snorted. Now, my poorly informed opinion, based on what I think is just common sense, is simply that the method of consumption of the drug determines how much drug is delivered to the target site at a particular moment in time. For more informed opinions, the University of Arizona website states that while this is almost universally accepted, the exact mechanism by which the method of use increases proclivity towards addiction is still open to debate. One explanation is that rapidly administered drugs encourage dependence faster because they are more euphorogenic, that is to say they create a greater high. The website goes on to say that self-reports of a high, pleasantness and drug liking are greater when cocaine or heroin are administered intravenously rather than by snorting. The website, however, concedes that cigarettes are not particularly euphorogenic, but they are still powerfully addictive. Another explanation is that rapidly administered drugs are more reinforcing, that is to say, the time between action and effect is shorter, so the subject more quickly learns the addictive routine. This is based largely on studies done on monkeys, and thus the reliability of this study is brought into question. The website references a study by Anne Noel Samaha and Terry E. Robinson entitled "Why Does the Rapid Delivery of Drugs to the Brain Promote Addiction?" Samaha and Robinson relate speed of administration with neuroplasticity, but this to me smacks of "it just does." Their study to me seems to be asking the question "why does?" and then going on to answer the question "how does?" From what I can glean from this research and my common sense is that rapid administration means more drug in the target site, resulting in changes to the neural pathways in the reward centres, as well as epigenetic changes to the addict's genetic code. This is to say, the drugs change which genes are turned on and which genes are turned off. Now, how can this relate to video game addiction? Clearly, video games can't be eaten, drunk, smoked, snorted or injected. However, video games, just like gambling or other behavioural addictions, rely on the body's own endocrine system. Video games enter the brain directly through the eyes and ears and activate the mesolimbic pathways directly. This could be argued to be the fastest possible way to get to the brain. Just as the way drugs are taken can affect how addictive they become and the rate at which the addict forms a dependency, So the way video games are played could have an influence on addiction as well as the time games are played. The way the game is played tends to affect how addictive it is. Games that can be played while sitting comfortably tend to be more addictive than games that require bodily movement on behalf of the gamer, and yes, moving your thumbs and fingers technically counts as bodily movement, but you know that's not what I'm talking about. Games like The Lord of the Rings, Aragon's Quest can be played with a conventional controller while sitting down, or played with the motion sensing controllers requiring the whole body movement to manipulate the character and environment. Needless to say, on the whole, the static, comfortable gameplay style tends to be more popular than the full body motion, with the static mode played for longer periods of time. When Microsoft released the Xbox One, which came bundled with the Kinect camera and couldn't be used without the Kinect, there was a massive player backlash. Microsoft had to do some serious backpedaling to allow the Xbox One to be used without the camera. Now, that being said, Nintendo has seemingly cornered and dominated the share of the gaming market for exercise-related gaming, and Niantic pretty much owns a monopoly on the augmented reality geolocation-based games where players go out with their mobile phones to capture points or pick up virtual things in real spaces. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, think Pokemon Go and the lesser known Ingress. While these types of games do exist and there is a player base that keeps their business model alive, Nintendo and Niantic only have a relatively small share in the gamer market. The largest share of the gaming market still belongs to the likes of Sony, Apple, Microsoft, and, dominating the Chinese market, Tencent. Besides how a game is played, when games are played can also affect the addictivity of the game. If gaming is the last thing we do in the evening before going to sleep, it's extremely easy to game while tired, and tiredness causes lapses in judgment, like the decision to play just one more round, or do just one more dungeon, or one more quest before going to bed. Add to this studies that too much screen time just before bed actually makes it more difficult to get to sleep, further increasing our tiredness and decreasing our ability to make good decisions. So even though the mechanisms of addiction will almost certainly work differently between gaming and drug use, the way we use video games can influence how addictive we find them, just as the way people take drugs can influence how addictive they find them. If you feel that you might have a problem with excessive gaming and are worried you might be developing an addiction, why not follow along or try out this simple test going game free for a month? Remember, it can be any month and you don't have to start on the 1st. Why not post a comment to let me know how you're doing, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. But as for me, big fat hairy 18 days and counting non-gamer, I'll look forward to seeing you in another video.